Hello friends, welcome back. This is your hostess Mahjubin. Today I am going to explain the poem Scorn Not the Sonnet, composed by William Wordsworth. This poem was composed in 1827 while the poet was taking a short walk on the western side of the Rydal Lake in England. This poem is interesting because it is a sonnet about the sonnet form of writing. Through this poem, Wordsworth makes an appeal to the critics of the sonnet to not hate this form of composing poetry because many literary scholars have used it to express their feelings. Scorn not the sonnet. So, Wordsworth is making an appeal to the critics, to the literary critics, that the sonnet form of writing should not be ridiculed, it should not be criticized. Critic, you have frowned, that means you have criticized the sonnet, mindless of its just honors. That means you have never given the tribute, that kind of tribute to the sonnet that it had always deserved. With this key, that means with the key of the sonnet, with this key, Shakespeare unlocked his heart. That means Shakespeare, the literary giant, Elizabethan dramatist, he was the one who used this form the most. And he unlocked his heart. He expressed his innermost feelings through the sonnet. So if the sonnet is something very ordinary, somebody like Shakespeare wouldn't have used it so much. And the melody of this small lute, that means the sonnet is compared to a lute, a musical instrument. It gave ease to Petrarch's wound. It gave comfort to Petrarch's wound. Petrarch was a 14th century Italian poet and he expressed his sadness through the sonnet form. So the sonnet is something very important. 1,000 times this pipe did Tasso sound. So Tasso, another literary giant. Tasso also, he was a 16th century Italian poet. Tasso, he also used this form of writing. Then apart from him, Camoens suit with it an exile's grief. Then Camoens, the full name is Louis Vaz de Camoens. He was a 16th century Portuguese practitioner of the sonnet form of writing, and there was a period of time when he was exiled from Lisbon, the capital of Portugal. But Camoens is considered to be the greatest Portuguese poet, and during his time of exile, he expressed his sadness, his tragedy through the sonnet form of writing. So the sonnet is, what Wordsworth means to say is that the sonnet cannot be so ordinary. If so many people had used it, so many literary giants had used it. So the sonnet glittered a gay martial leaf. That means the sonnet also gave life, it gave brilliance to the martial leaf which hid amid the cypress with which Dante crowned his visionary brow. So Dante crowned his brow with the leaves of myrtle and the cypress, and he expressed in his sonnets something. The myrtle leaf and the cypress trees, they also gained a lot of importance. They were expressed in great detail through the sonnet form of writing, and Dante got his visionary power through the sonnet form. And amid the cypress with which Dante crowned his visionary power, a glow-warm lamp. So the sonnet is compared to a lamp that gave warmth to people at the time of darkness. So this is what the poet tries to mean in these first few lines of this sonnet. Now we will see, as we continue to read, we will see what else he has to say about this particular poem. It cheered mild Spencer, called from fairyland to struggle through dark ways. Now Wordsworth is referring to another literary figure, that is Edmund Spenser, who was an Elizabethan poet, and he composed the Fairy Queen. It was an unfinished epic poem. So Wordsworth is saying that this form of writing, that is the sonnet, it cheered, that means it gave happiness to Edmund Spenser, called from fairy land. That means he came from the land of the fairies. He came back from his composition of the Fairy Queen, the Fairy Queen, which was an epic poem. After, apart from composing the Fairy Queen, he also composed sonnets, and through the sonnets he tried to struggle through the darkness of his life. And that is why the sonnet is something which should be given its tribute, because it is a kind of literary expression. It's a literary mode through which so many people got directions in their lives. And when a dam fell round the path of Milton, and when John Milton faced trials and tribulations in his life, at that time also he expressed his sadness, he expressed his feelings through the sonnet form. So apart from Spenser, John Milton was another literary figure who used the sonnet. So fell round the path, and when a dam fell round the path of Milton, in his hand the thing means the sonnet. It became a trumpet. He used it the most. He used it to express his feelings a lot. Whence he blew soul animating strains, alas too few. But although he could express his feelings in a very powerful way through the sonnet form, however, the sad part is that John Milton did not use it that much, alas too few. That means he used the sonnet form, no doubt, but not as much as he should have done. And on that note, Wordsworth ends this poem. So, well, that's all for today. I will be uploading the summary of this sonnet tomorrow. So do not forget to check it out. Bye.